Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Reading from Srimad Bhagavatam, Canto 3, Chapter 21, entitled Conversation between Manu and Kardama, text number 13. Rishiruvacha Jushtam Vatadhyakila Satvarase Samsidayam Akšnostava Darshananna Tadbir Ashasate Yogino Ruda Yoga Rishi Uvacha. The great sage said, Jushtam is attained. Bata Araya Adya now. Akila all. Sattva of goodness. Rashe who are the reservoir. Samsidyam the complete success. Akshno of the two eyes. Tava of you. Darshanat from the sight. Naha by us. Yat of worshipable Lord. Oh, of whom? Darshanam sight. Janmabhi through births. Idya O worshipable Lord. Sadbhi gradually elevated in position. Ashasate aspire. Yoginaha yogis. Rudra yogaha having obtained perfection in yoga. Translation and purport by His Divine Grace A.C. Bhakti-Vedanta Swami Srila Prabhupada Ki. The great sage Kardama said, O Supreme Worshipable Lord, my power of sight is now fulfilled, having attained the greatest perfection of the sight of you, who are the reservoir of all existences. Through my successive births of deep meditation, advanced yogis aspire to see your transcendental form. Purport. The Supreme Personality of Godhead is described here as the reservoir of all goodness and all pleasure. Unless one is situated in the mode of goodness, there is no real pleasure. When therefore one's body, mind and activities are situated in the service of the Lord, one is on the highest perfectional stage of goodness. Kardama Muni says, your Lordship is the reservoir of all that can be understood by the nomenclature of goodness, and by experiencing you face to face, eye to eye, the perfection of sight has now been attained. These statements are the pure devotional situation. For a devotee, the perfection of the senses is to engage in the service of the Lord. The sense of sight, when engaged in seeing the beauty of the Lord, is perfected. The power to hear, when engaged in hearing the glories of the Lord, is perfected. The power to taste, when one enjoys by eating prasad, is perfected. When all the senses engage in the relationship with the personality of Godhead, one's perfection is technically called bhakti-yoga, which entails detaching the senses from material indulgence and attaching them to the service of the Lord. When one is freed from all designated conditional life and fully engages in the service of the Lord, one's service is called bhakti-yoga. Kardama Muni admits that seeing the Lord personally in bhakti-yoga is the perfection of sight. The exalted perfection of seeing the Lord is not exaggerated by Kardama Muni. He gives evidence that those who are actually elevated in yoga aspiring life after life to see this form of the personality of Godhead. He was not a fictitious yogi. Those who are actually on the advanced path aspire only to see the eternal form of the Lord. Again, translation. The great sage Kardama said, O Supreme Worshipful Lord, my power of sight is now fulfilled, having attained the greatest perfection of the sight of you, who are the reservoir of all existences. Through many successive births of deep meditation, advanced yogis aspire to see your transcendental form. So in this verse, it is said that Kardama Muni says that his perfection of eyesight has now been, he has attained the perfection of the power of seeing. And in the purport, Srila Prabhupada explains that actually the perfection of all the senses is to engage them in the service of the Supreme Lord. Otherwise, what is the use of our senses? The eyes should be engaged in looking at the beautiful form of the Lord. The tongue should be engaged in eating the honoring prasadam, enjoying in eating prasadam. It is said that the legs should be engaged by walking to the temple of the Lord. And the power to hear should be engaged in listening the glories of the Supreme Lord. In the Bhagavad-gita it is said, Prakrite kriyamanani gunai karmani sarvasha ahankaram vinidatma kartahamiti manyate. By our false ego, we are thinking we are the doer. We think that we are free to do whatever we want. But actually we are just puppets in the hands of the three modes of material nature. It is said here that without goodness, there is no happiness. And the Supreme Lord can be understood that He is the supreme goodness, or whatever can be said that is goodness, that is the Supreme Lord. It said that anything that can be, the Supreme Lord is the nomenclature of all goodness, says Prabhupada in the purport. And there is one illustration in Bhagavad-gita that I really liked always, is that the illustration of the three modes of material nature, and there is these two workers in the field, and they have those strings attached to their hands and legs, and there's the three modes of material nature above the clouds, and one person is more in the mode of goodness and passion, and he's more like just observing the other person who is more in the mode of passion and ignorance, and the other person is shoveling some dirt. But above those three modes of material nature is Krishna on the lotus flower playing a flute. So the Supreme Lord is above all these modes of material nature, even above the material mode of goodness. So we are always conditioned in this material world. We're trying to elevate ourselves to the mode of goodness, but we are always being pulled by the other two modes as well. They're always fighting amongst each other for supremacy. Yes. I just read the other day that first there is three modes of material nature, and then when they mix, they become 9. And when those 9 mix again, it becomes 81. And then it just goes on and on like this. And there is a big mix of all the three modes of material nature. So, but if we surrender to the Supreme Lord, if we engage all our senses in the service of the Supreme Lord, then we come to the pure goodness, Shuddha Sattva, and then we can see the Supreme Lord above these three modes of material nature, standing on the lotus flower, playing his flute. My spiritual master, His Holiness Kadambakana Swami, compares the path of devotional service. It can be compared either to a razor's edge, when it's very tight. You have to be very careful not to make a wrong move, otherwise you're going to cut yourself. But he compares it to a tight rope. In a circus, you go to see these performers, and they have this tightrope very high above the ground, but there is a safety net underneath, and he says that this safety net is the mode of goodness, and this tightrope is pure devotional service. So there is a chance we might not be so successful in devotional service. Sometimes we may slip. But then we fall, but we get caught by this safety net of the mode of goodness. But then he says that, but nobody comes to the circus to see somebody being always in this safety net. Everybody comes to see the gymnast or whoever, the clown, the acrobat, yes. The acrobat to walk on this tightrope, not to be in this safety net all the time. Yes, and in this is our way, and we have to try and walk on this platform of pure devotional service. And then by the mercy of Guru and Krishna, sometimes we get so much mercy, that eventually this tightrope becomes so wide for us, we can dance on this tightrope. That's what he said. And the similar example is the example of the material energy shrinking into the size of a hoof print of a calf. It's sort of same type of analogy. But this time, this tightrope of devotional service expands so that we can dance upon it. And I like this point of getting the mercy of the spiritual master, because also in the previous verses it is said that Kardama Muni, he was meditating upon the Supreme Lord, which can be understood only by the songs of the Vedas, right? But then in Bhagavad-gita we see a verse by Krishna. He says to Arjuna, Traigunya Vishaya Veda Nistraigunya Bhavarjuna Nirdvandvo Sattvasto Niryogashema Hamya Atmavan. Yeah. He says that the Vedas primarily deal with the three modes of material nature. So Arjuna, you have to rise above those three modes of material nature. So if we try to understand the Supreme Lord, and okay, now I'm gonna study the Vedas. Okay, it says, okay, Vedas, this is the main way to come to the Supreme Lord. Shastra Chakshu, okay, let's read the Shastra. But if we don't have the guidance of the spiritual master, we will miss the real essence of the Vedas. We will get caught up in three modes of material nature again, because we will not receive that mercy of our spiritual master. It says, Guru Krishna Prasade Pai Bhakti Lata Beach. By the mercy of Guru and Krishna, we get the seed of Bhakti Lata. And I remember when I was a small boy, there was a particular lecture that I really liked. and it was a lecture by His Holiness Indradyumna Swami. And it is titled The Silver Spoon. And in this lecture, Indradyumna Maharaj, he explains how he was traveling with Srila Prabhupada to France, and they were on the plane together. And then, in the middle of the flight, he says, and then the movie came on. And it was a Charlie Chaplin movie. So then, Indradyumna Maharaj, he was like, no, this is Maya. So he goes and he covers his head with the chadar. So he explains it really nicely. It was always like really nice to hear that lecture for me. And then I watched it many times, I remember, because we had also a video recording of it, not just audio. So then he says, then he couldn't continue, just with the chadar on. Then he takes the Bhagavad-gita, he goes, Derasvinyata de. And then he's like pretending he's fully serious devotee, he's not gonna give into this Maya movie, Then he's reading Bhagavad-gita, and then he looks at his side and he sees Prabhupada is watching the movie. And Prabhupada is laughing like anything watching the movie. So then he's like, he closes the book, and then he also watched the movie. And devotees, they do not have so much, their false ego is diminished a lot, so they don't care how people perceive them. So the devotees were laughing the most on the whole plane, they were having the most fun. So then at the end, Indradyumna Maharaj was very confused. How is it that Prabhupada was watching the movie? Isn't the movie supposed to be Maya? But he was too afraid to ask Prabhupada personally this question. Anyway, he got somebody else to ask the question, maybe Bhagavan. I think he got Bhagavan to ask the question, and then Prabhupada said that Krishna is the ability in man. So Charlie Chaplin, his ability is to make people laugh, but that is actually Krishna. So in this way, he put on a spiritual dimension. But anyway, when the movie was over, Prabhupada immediately, he went back to chanting his japa. Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna. He never came down from his spiritual platform. And so in this way, we can see that Prabhupada actually, he had the spiritual vision. And he brought us that spiritual vision in the form of his books and in the form of, at that time, in the form of his presence as well. Every day we sing the Guru Vandana prayers, and we say that we pray that Guru comes and opens our darkened eyes and fills our heart with transcendental knowledge. Yes, and so our eyes are blinded by the first of all, three modes of material nature, but then also by the enemies such as lust, anger, envy, greed, illusion, and pride. Right? These are the enemies. And it is, Krishna again says, Kama esha krodha esha jogana samudbhava mahashano mahapapma vidyanam ikhavairinam. He says that this lust is the all-devouring sinful enemy of the world. It's the greatest enemy of this world. And from lust, anger arises. And then in another verse, Krishna says, Krodhat bhavati samoha, samoha smriti vibrama, smriti bhamshad buddhinashad pranashyati. Once we are consumed by anger, we lose all our intelligence. And when our intelligence is lost, then we fall back into the pool of material existence. So once we are in the pool of material existence, there is no hope for us to get out of this three modes of material nature. We are just like puppets, just dancing around. And then our only hope is Om Jnanati Mirandasya Gyananjana Shalakaya. The Guru comes with a torchlight of knowledge and pulls us out of this pool of material existence. And it is said that also the spiritual master is like a captain on this boat of our advancement in spiritual life, or our crossing over this material existence. And the knowledge is like the favorable winds. Yes, so in that way we have to surrender to the spiritual master. And the spiritual master is non different from the Supreme Lord. And he engages us in the service of the Lord. He is the transparent via medium. He engages us in the service of the Supreme Lord. And by engaging in that service, we actually also gain the perfection of all our senses, eyes, ears. Srila Prabhupada, he made it so crystal clear what is the essence, what is the main goal of life. Now even, Bhakta Joe joins 3 weeks ago, and he knows the essence if he reads Prabhupada's books. And before, so many great philosophers, great acharyas even, they didn't have that deepest understanding because it was not revealed yet. But now, we just plop off the street and we immediately know everything. Let's say it takes you 5 years to read Srimad Bhagavatam. In 5 years, you have all the knowledge in the world. It's compared. It said that I think you saw in Kadambakana Swami. He says that Prabhupada was like lightning, straight to the point, made everything crystal clear. No misconceptions if we actually go deep and we read and we surrender to a bona fide spiritual master. Then we can very easily advance in spiritual life. Yes, so Kardama Muni is very satisfied because now he has seen the Lord. And this third canto is very interesting because first it starts off with Lord Brahma, and he's searching for what's going on in this material, because he just woke up on this lotus flower and he wants to understand what is his purpose, where is he coming from. So he's searching on his own, but he can't find anything, and then he hears the word tapa, and then he does the austerities, and then the Lord reveals himself to him. And so Brahma creates this whole universe. It was Prabhupada says, we cannot imagine how difficult it is to create this material universe, the whole universe, and to put the planets in all the right positions, and to create all these life forms for different mentalities of different living entities, different state of beings. So Brahma put a lot of effort into this creation. But then he gets criticized by the gopis because he created eyelids, and that prevents them from seeing Krishna for even like the smallest moment. And then they say, like Lord Chaitanya says in the mood of the gopis, in the mood of Srimati Radharani, Yugaitam nimeshena chakshusha pravishaitam shunyaitam jagat sarvam govinda virahename. He says that even a moment feels like 12 years or more, or whole eternity. Yes. So when we just want to see Krishna, then when we get separated for even a moment, it's unbearable. The gopis criticized Lord Brahma. Why did you do this to us? Yes. Yeah, so in this way we can, by practicing this bhakti-yoga, and when all our being is engaged in the service of the Lord, that is called bhakti-yoga, and by practicing of bhakti-yoga, eventually our eyes will become smeared with the love for Krishna. Like Lord Brahma says himself, Premanjana Charita Bhakti Vilochanena Santaksadeva Hridayeshu Vilokayanti Yam Shama Sundara Chintagana Swarupa Govindamari Purusham Tamaham Bhajami. Yeah, so this is our goal. Try to attain that state where our eyes will be smeared by the love for Krishna. And then nothing in this world will seem of value. And then three modes of material nature have no pull on us anymore. And we will rise above into the true mode of goodness, and we will see the Supreme Lord, who is the reservoir of all goodness and pleasure. Yeah, so I'm not like a very good, very advanced in this, so I will ask all of you to say you are all my seniors. So what can I say in front of you? So I will just ask all of you for any comments or additions to all this, whatever I said.
I will just add some comment on this gopis criticizing Brahma. Because we live in Kali Yuga, we don't understand very deeply what is this criticizing.
Yeah.
Because we may think, yes, they just criticizes Brahma, what's the matter?
Yeah.
Nothing really is serious about. But we should know what is the Vedic civilization, how in great respect they had different demigods. They worshipped them practically on the same level as the Lord. Even Vrajvasis, as we know, they wanted to worship Indra with all different paraphernalia and so on.
Okay, let him take the mic.
Hare Krishna. So Vrajvasis wanted to worship even Lord Indra with all the paraphernalia very opulently. They prepared for this worship for a very long time and very thoroughly, and they worshipped the sun. For example, Radharani was or is sent every day by her mother-in-law to worship the sun. So we should know in how high regard they all had demigods, and they wouldn't dare to offend them, not even in their dreams. But here the gopis are so, we can say, bold or impudent even from the perspective of Vedic civilization, that they dare to criticize the highest divinity in this material existence, Lord Brahma himself. Just because they are so disturbed because they cannot see Krishna for animesha. Animesha means, I think, 1/12 of a second. So, yes, this is important to understand in the true context of this meaning. Hare Krishna. Anything else? Do you have any question?
You have something.
What?
Sorry.
It's okay. Yeah, I was just thinking about the spiritual master opening our eyes, and it's nearly we're refusing to see Krishna, but he's doing everything possible to allow us to see Krishna, to attain perfection of eyesight, or perfection of engagement of all senses, by engaging us in bhakti-yoga. But I was just thinking, hey, we don't appreciate it at all. We see it as an impediment. Why is he trying to make me do these things? And I guess the Bhagavatam is trying to show the glories of the spiritual master, how much he's trying to help the living entity. Yeah, we're so dull. Savia?
Can I add about the spiritual master? Because I just read the commentary of Madhvacharya on Bhagavad-Gita, on verse 12.5. And he says that no one can attain perfection because there is a description how difficult it is for the impersonalists to... what they experience is just misery. And then...
laughing at them.
Yeah. And he explains that no one can attain even moksha without mercy of the Lord. And this mercy of the Lord cannot be attained without the mercy of Lakshmi, who is the prime devotee of the Lord. And she, in fact, is also the original spiritual master of every living entity. And if we don't satisfy the spiritual master, yasya prasadat bhagavat prasada, yasya prasadam nagati kutopi, we cannot achieve anything. So those who think that they can choose guru who is not present personally in this material world, they're just ludicrous. Because they can never satisfy Lakshmi by this. In fact, they dissatisfy her, and so no mercy of Krishna can be received by this attitude. Hare Krishna.
The verse is talking about the perfection of seeing the Lord, and Srila Prabhupada begins by explaining where we are in terms of our situation in the modes and needing to at least come up to the mode of goodness. And I was considering that this mode of goodness is also such an exalted position for the conditioned soul, as it was pointed out. But contrasting that to Lord Chaitanya's process, which is aimed at targeting those who are grossly engrossed materially, and he's giving his association
via the holy name. That, like it is said, if you're situated on the boat of transcendental knowledge, regardless of how sinful you are, you can cross over. But now this boat of the holy name is really the only hope, considering that Kali Yuga is so infested with Raja and Tama, that the idea of rising on your own to the point where you could see the Lord is hopeless. But it's been made practical and attainable for anyone who contacts the Lord in his form of the holy name, that the holy name will gladden even animals. They were chanting and dancing and hugging it out. Lord Chaitanya was demonstrating, and it is said that though we cannot presume to make the animals really chant and dance, because our power is not so, but the human animals, Govardhana says, at least let them chant and dance, and like that, in that mellow of getting the association of the Lord is felt, even though people don't really understand what was that joy, what is that, So just appreciating that I'm like myself caught up heavy in the modes, but by this access to the holy name, even I'm optimistic about finally seeing the Lord with some sort of premanjana charita. At some point, maybe some prema will smear my eyes. So, Harinama Eva Kevalam.
Hari.
That's this is holy name stuff. That was the nature of Brihad Bhagavatamrita Gopakumar. He took shelter of his spiritual master who gave him the Gopal mantra. And many times he was unsure. He even went back to Govardhan to consult the spiritual man. He only saw him a few times. And there was a point where he was just in ecstasy, really didn't give a clear indication, just that here's the mantra and I'm in ecstasy, and he found him just like lost in his ecstasy. But he just advised him, yes, keep chanting the mantra, you attain what you truly desire, your heart's desire. And there's a line in one of the purports saying that the perfection of life is to fulfill the desire of the heart, which is to be with Krishna. And I think he didn't make it to Goloka yet. I think it was in Vaikuntha. And the Lord was saying, yes, I've been trying to bring you back in this form of the spiritual master also. So we can say, like with the mantra given by the spiritual master, and the spiritual master trying to bring both the Lord and the living entity together. It's like we got a lot of help as well, and it's the optimism of what the holy name brings, but also having the devotees help us as well. It's optimism in Kali Yuga.
Yeah, Srila Prabhupada is a super optimism. Just one line like that, yeah. No, that Srila Prabhupada really is like the personified optimism for a devotee who comes across his transcendental movement, because he has full, complete faith that he can say that in this life you can go back home, back to Godhead. You just follow. So it means this is a trusted representative of the Lord who knows the Lord directly. And he has taken the mandate to come and get us out. And he says, you do this, sincerely avoid this offensive mood. And yeah, Indra Prabhu, one who really had taken shelter of the spiritual master in practical terms, that he got upset when devotee was speaking, oh yeah, Prabhu, maybe some of us, it will take us a few lifetimes, to go back to God. So what? He threw a chair at him. You think Prabhupada is a liar? My spiritual master, he said, back to in this life. Why don't you want to take this mercy? Why don't you want to accept this? Say, oh no, in a few lifetimes. So, the devotee, whatever his situation was, we can take it on the best side that, he was being humble, and but even that humility in the face of the gift that Prabhupada is giving, appeared offensive to Indra Prabhu. Like, how can you even say he's come to get you now? You are talking in future lifetimes. I thought, that is the type of faith and realization, the one aspires for. Like, yeah, it's going to be done now because we've got the best help in Srila Prabhupada. Yeah, that was really something amazing.
Yeah, this back to Godhead, this lifetime. So we hear about how when going back to Godhead, you actually take a birth in a universe where Krishna is having his pastimes first, so to get trained up before you hit the spiritual world. But Prabhupada's movement, he mentioned that it's a branch of the Chaitanya tree. So being involved in Prabhupada's movement means you're in Chaitanya Lila already, just by touching it. So, one could get the training within the movement. That's why you could. This is like what I'm trying to build up. I haven't seen a statement of it. But being in contact with the movement of Prabhupada means you're in Gaura Lila already. And then, yeah, why not back to Godhead this lifetime? I'm thinking that's the optimism building, about it. But does that statement suffice?
Yes.
There's a verse in Bhagavata-dharma saying about this Krishna consciousness movement actually Lord Chaitanya's own ISKCON, and it's there in the spiritual world.
Actually, spiritual world is a state of consciousness also. We can be, for example, from the life of Srila Prabhupada. He was walking in the ghetto of Bowery in New York, and the drunkards were lying here and there, and rats were running here and there. And there was sewage stinking everywhere. And Prabhupada saw is as Goloka Vrindavan, as cows are grazing on meadows. Yes, so spiritual world is the state of consciousness. So if we go to some universe where Krishna is, we'll be completely absorbed in service to Krishna. And service to Krishna, what is the thing that makes spiritual world, not some geographical position, because spiritual world is all pervading. It's not away in a sense. It's away in our consciousness. It's far, far away. But if we connect to it, and we live just for the Lord's satisfaction, then we live in the spiritual world now. But of course, now and here, when we are separated from the Lord, this is difficult to attain. But if we live with Krishna personally, then it's a problem to forget him. It's impossible to forget him, even for a moment. Even Nimesha brings us, of not seeing him, brings us extreme meditation on him, as are examples of the gopis and Mother Yashoda and Nanda. And so even if we are so-called material lila of Krishna, we are completely in spiritual world. So even if this is true or that is true, doesn't matter for the pure devotee of Krishna.
The swinging of the mic. Swinging mic. Okay. Srila Prabhupada Yes. What can I say? I'm excited. Yeah. Our only hope is to follow the instruction of the spiritual master, try to satisfy the spiritual master, and then everything becomes easy. And then he just pulls us, and we get turbo. How do you call that? No. We get accelerated in our path. Jet engines. Okay. Thank you very much for all your comments and all your blessings. Hare Krishna.
Great.